But let's join our feature match. As RMC said, it is Viktor being played by Ghosterdriver. I believe. No. It's Irelia Ghosterdriver. No.
Ghosterdriver is the Viktor, yep. And then it's going to be Loqui on the Irelia.
That's what it is. Then I kind of flipped them. I think I have the cam set, right? Because I usually have the Viktor, but okay, I'll fix it on round 2. But Irelia's starting things off the best she can with the Guardian Angel, as we mentioned before, is one of the best ways to keep their units protected from so much removal. And on top of that, the Stellacorn coming down. Does she want to equip it right now? And the answer is yes.
Yep.
But I think it's a little too early to use the Irelia Legend ability because that'll set you back a little bit too much, I feel.
Well, you know what? For now, just getting that Stellacorn up there and generating the card draw, I think is kind of the idea. You can get Irelia in on turn 5, but you really want to be picking up some of that spell denial first, the safety before you go in. And speaking of safety, well, plus first of all, worth noting that the first turn, not a single order rune to be seen, and it is yellow Viktor, so it's not 39 spell Viktor. But you could have fooled me with double hidden blade, Call the Weak, and Stupefy as some of the starting cards in this game for Ghosterdriver.
And yeah, taking a look at the hand, that is a whole lot more removal. But to your point, it looks to be slightly different. We're seeing a card we don't get to see too often, the Captain Vanguard, available to her. And speaking of the devil, it does get played out right now since you do have the gear to use that order rune. So getting 2 recruit tokens on top of the one you already had. And it looks like he's playing it out right now, so just gets up to 1 point. But the Stellacorn, because Viktor's all tapped out, is able to conquer up on the Dreaming Tree, which is an excellent battlefield to conquer. Not only do you get the draw to push forward, but also to help defend it from the oncoming onslaught of these recruit tokens potentially next turn.
Yeah, and the thing with the gear that I think makes it quite effective into yellow Viktor, and why yellow Viktor is a little bit well, I won't say uncommon nowadays, but you know why blue Viktor I think really kind of popped off was all those recruits are just 1 might, right? Your Guardian Angel right there is already a +1 in addition to sort of the saving effect that it has. So now this Stellacorn, instead of just being 3 might, is 4 might, which means that you've got to commit quite a lot to kill it, and with the knowledge that even if you kill it this time, the Guardian Angel is there. So even though we're seeing Ghosterdriver with the 3 recruits and the Vanguard Captain, that's 6 might total. On paper, it's enough to take out the Stellacorn. In reality, you're just giving the Stellacorn, you're just kind of losing most of that and allowing the Stellacorn to still have that extra little bit of movement, move up the next turn, still generate that card draw, still score that point, and allow Loqui to continue getting ahead in terms of points.
And things are looking rather good for the Irelia player. Looking at the hand and on the current board, that's a total of 3 Stellacorns available right now, are able to get played out in the next couple of turns. It looks like Defiant Dance is going to be doing -2 onto the Captain Vanguard. So total might attacking right now is just 3 versus the current 4 of the herder right now. So you're able to keep it right as it stands, but the Stupefy trying to using it on yourself to draw 2. That is interesting since you're not going to win the trade.
Yeah, I mean 6-3, pardon me, not even close to being able to do that. So might as well just generate the card draw, see kind of what you're able to find. It looks like the Riptide Rex being pulled up, as well as the Plundering Poro. Unfortunately, you don't have enough runes now to play the Riptide Rex, which would have been enough to potentially kill the Stellacorn. Instead, Hidden Blade going to be used as an action to clear that one out for now. So card draw all around for everyone.
That's right, and it looks like there's still a couple more runes available for Viktor. I wouldn't blame him to go ahead and use a Call of the Weak to just get rid of one of those Stellacorns, because if you don't, that's going to be a massive amount of draw advantage this Irelia player might just be able to gain on the next couple turns, because you push one forward into the Triferian War Camp that's going to draw 1, and with a Defiant Dance and 2 on guards in hand, you feel quite safe to push it into the Dreaming Tree, because not only you get the 1 for the push as we mentioned before, but the +1 on the Dreaming Tree. And I think we're seeing it. Oh no, what did he tap the last runes for? The Poro. That is interesting. We're about to see Irelia draw a mountain of cards right here this turn.
Yeah, and gonna be honest, part of the thing I think is just trying to clear out the units as best you can, right? You want those Stellacorn herders up at a field somewhere so you can actually kill them, and then you can call the weak onto Irelia, because Irelia herself, the champion fervent, has deflect. So you want to be saving the Call of the Week as much as possible to deal with that. Now, Cellcorn up to the Trifarian scoring, up to the Dreaming Tree with Defiant Dance once again. I feel like we've seen this song and dance before, but this
Oh
time,
yeah.
no Hidden Blade, as you mentioned, completely tapped out, didn't bother hiding a card. They're just going to let this reset. And it's worth noting that we can see there's still another Stellar Cord in hand
Oh yeah.
for the side of Loqui if he wants to get that out and continue generating more and more card draw.
Yeah, I'm seeing a fantastic amount of options for Irelia. You have the Guardian Angel to keep one of those Stellar Corns protected. You also have a not so fast for the following turns. If they want to go ahead, it even counters things like a Reptide Rex. So I think he's going to be leaving at least 2 runes available. You also have a charm that would allow you to leave 2 runes still at the ready for the following turn, but deciding to leave all 3 just for one of those, perhaps another on guard on a Dreaming Tree to draw even another one. But interesting decision to forego attaching the Guardian Angel. I feel like you want to guarantee at least saving one of these Stellar Corns, keeping in mind how much removal Viktor tends to have. But I think he's seen enough to make a good judgment and say, you know what, this isn't the Prison Viktor that has infinite removal. I think I could play it a bit safe and kind of save my runes for the following turn and kind of not let this, kind of save the Guardian Angel for the time being.
And I wonder if they're also wanting to keep the Guardian Angel more for Irelia, potentially to keep her alive. Everything else feels like it's more like the Stellar Corns are the supportive cast for the Irelia later on. So if you're able to keep the GA, that should be fine. You also had all the energy up anyways, so you had Not So Fast is going to be able to stop the kill target onto the Stellar Corn. So you're still going to keep them alive for next turn. They're still going to generate more card draw, and you've got another Stellar Corn in hand potentially.
Yeah, I love that play. A lot of people forget Not So Fast is also ability effects like a Riptide Rex coming in a huge clutch moment, saving the Stellar Corn and kind of letting him tap the 6 runes all for nothing. Of course, you still establish a good 6 might body on the board, but of course, it would have been a whole lot sweeter to take out one of those Stellar Corns. On top of that, the on guard coming down, trying to keep this Stellar Corn protected because you're up to 6 might and you're only pushing in with 5 currently. The Hidden Blade has to come out. You don't want to get the Irelia player a 2-point advantage on the next hold points, of course. So having to do what you have to do. And honestly, what's more cards at this point for Irelia, right? She has so much already.
In for a penny, in for a pound. And at this point, I guess that's why you don't bother trying to save the Stellar Corn, because what's the point, right? You've already got so much card draw anyway. It's not the end of the world there. Is that a Draven that just got drawn there?
Yeah, nice little cheeky one of perhaps.
Okay.
It does tend to do quite some bit because you're able to ready it as soon as you play it with the Irelia Legend more often than not with things like On Guard or your equipment. So it's kind of like a surprise attack, which I love it. It has been mentioned though in the recent FAQs, you can't go from 6 directly to 8 with that Draven alone. Just to keep that in mind, because you do get the ability Conquer first, and then it would be the Conquer from the battlefield. If you only conquer one battlefield, of course, like we all know from the core rules, you can't win on that turn. So just a little something to be mindful going forward. But I do like that Draven nonetheless. I don't think a lot of players are expecting it.
Okay, 1 rune up right now. So a bit of a challenge coming through from Ghosterdriver. Kind of just brute forcing this one. The other on guard, yet another one. And look, if you're a Ghosterdriver, you've just got to assume that if there's a combat trick you're worried about, it's probably sitting in Loki's hand, just because of the sheer amount of card draw he's had. So here's the trick. And once again, for Ghosterdriver, unfortunately, it feels like, well, what options do you have? You've already used your Hidden Blades. So I guess you're looking at Wages of Pain.
Yeah, and it will be Wages of Pain. Does have the runes available for it, so bringing that into that range of Riptide Rex, and there's no longer any runes for Irelia. You can't defy the Wages of Pain, so I think it's just going to have to be a matter of the Guardian Angel coming down, saving the Irelia, and actually looking at the hand of Viktor, there's only a Call of the Week, so if you do deploy it, it's not going to be able to take care of the Irelia, and that's the biggest unit Irelia Legend loves to keep around, right? If you could keep your Irelia Chosen Champion alive, you basically run away with the game. So I think that's the game plan for Loqui down south. So let's see if he's able to keep both units alive. So feeling good. We thought Viktor could really run away with it, But Irelia holding good and most likely should be able to get to 7 points here.
Yeah, and instead it looks like Ghosterdriver opted to take one turn to kind of build up his board. Interestingly, he didn't use the Vanguard Captain, didn't want to deramp at all on that turn, so won't have that flood of recruits to kind of spam up. Whereas we're just going to see Loqui, as you said, just take those 7 points, get up there, get the extra card draw. But one thing Loqui has been doing is deramping constantly to try and keep those units alive. So now he's at 7, but it's only got the 6 runes, and he's got 2 turns to play around. Worst comes to worst, even if everything gets cleared, he knows he's got that 2 turns to kind of let things happen. A lot of responses in his hand, though, that I think if I were Loqui right now, I might just kind of pass over with all my energy up. Yep, there you go. And then you've got all the combat tricks in the world to try and play.
Yeah, notorious for green decks to do. They say they have so much advantage on the defensive end with things like the fighter flights, with the defis, with the discipline and on guards. I'm actually not seeing any on guards, but so many tools available to her. Let's see what they're able to get done. And I think I fixed it in chat, guys. Let me know in 7 minutes if it's right. Loqui down bottom and Ghosterdriver. Okay, now is the points that are flipped. I'll go ahead and flip that for us now. Okay, but we should be good going forward. But let's see, deciding to push forward with the 2 honest brokers and recruits should be enough to take care of the Stellarcorn, which is interesting. But thinking about the bigger picture, all Irelia needs to do is hold a single point. And he's thinking the call of the week is going to get off, but look at all those defies in hand. Not even 2 anymore. There's 3 total defies now, so it's almost impossible for Viktor to take this one.
Yeah, and not so fast as well. Won't be able to stop the call, but any other spell, it would have stopped. So, and to be fair, I think Ghosterdriver suspected this would be the case. Again, you've just got to assume that at least 1 defy is in hand. So that's the end of that one. Nice and quick. And plus, this is an upset. We're talking as if Viktor was the favorite side, but Loqui dominated that matchup.
Start to peak, right? Right.
Yes, that's the one. Thank you. Yeah, so it's kind of like that, except that both players now do it. So it's really about ramping as fast as you can. And for the Irelia, yeah, you want those runes. We saw what happened last game, or how Loqui was kind of stuck at around that 5-6 rune mark because he was recycling so heavily. So it seems like a good battlefield for this Irelia. We're seeing Arena's Greatest come through from Ghosterdriver, trying to speed things up. Normally, I like that into Irelia, but when we think what happened last game and how fast Loqui was able to accelerate, I am a little bit concerned. To start the game, though, Loqui, no low drops available.
Which is kind of a little bit of a usual circumstance that a lot of Irelia players find themselves in. So nothing unusual, I would say. But now at 5 energy, you do have the option to deploy your chosen champion, but smartly forgoes it. Instead, develops the Guardian Angel first. That way, you're able to play it the next turn and then attach the Guardian Angel. So I like this so far, but it does give Viktor a lot of room to push forward. Already up to 3 points. 1 for the hold, and maybe even 4 points once he pushes one of these recruits, most likely onto the paper tree. And take a look at the hand RMC. That is a good amount of removal, and we're seeing something we're definitely not used to seeing from Viktor decks. And I see the synergy now, the Vanguard with the Matron, a tried and true combo to Darius decks as we've seen in the past many times, kind of bringing that into Viktor package. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think it's really solid. And you know, in general, it kind of works for yellow. There's other units you can bring back as well, depending on how your deck is built. But early on, it doesn't really do anything for you. Right now, there's nothing for Spectral Matron to bring back. We're seeing Viktor actually being brought onto the board, Viktor leader already with the Honest Broker. And like we've mentioned before, green-purple can struggle to clear things out of base. Really, you're just kind of relying on the charm. Irelia finally onto the board here. Plus, that's the sort of big marker for Irelia decks, because you want her online, you want the Heart of Dark Ice, you want her just bouncing around. But I'm a little bit concerned because she's up there. Yes, she's got a GA, but do you have enough protection for her? Defy in hand, charm in hand, defy and down to discipline. Lots of cards, but not lots of energy to match.
Yeah, I mean, if Viktor wants to get pretty ambitious about things, and she's completely tapping out, feeling like the Guardian Angel will be the only thing to save this Irelia, which I feel like could be a little bit disastrous, keeping in mind there's a 2 hidden blades in a call of the week and doesn't even attach it. Whoa, Loqui is saying, you know what? I know you have removal with 7 cards in hand. I'm just going to let you take it, and I'm going to try to accelerate this Draven unit next turn to get 2 points perhaps. So this is an interesting decision. We rarely see Irelia players just kind of give this Irelia champion up so nilly-willy, right? They usually have so much protection with the Guardian Angels, with the On Guards, but maybe making a bit of adjustments, realizing the bigger picture, saying, I don't think I can save it. Let's save some resources, and I'll get a unit either with this Draven or one of my future draws to try to push in later, because that's interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea. I feel like with that sort of pocket Draven, it's a really good card to try and keep alive. And I don't think it actually was played in game one, just kind of sat in hand for Loqui the entire time. So yeah, I think the GA on the Draven makes a lot of sense. You only lose the points when he dies. When you get the points when you win combat. So that's one way you're going to catch back up. But it also, I feel like Ghosterdriver is probably thinking that there must be a trap somewhere here. Like, you have no energy up, so you definitely can't keep your Irelia alive. So why are you offering me your Irelia? You're going to take the trade for sure, or you're going to take the Irelia for sure, but I think it's just a bit of a question mark of why are you giving me this Irelia so freely?
Yeah, and super freely in this situation where Riptide Rex coming on. You know, the Irelia player has no 2 energy available for the not so fast that stopped his ability effect in game number 2, or game number 1 rather. So easy peasy, pushing forward the recruit token, going up to 6 points. This is an excellent position the Viktor finds himself in, especially considering the fact, as I keep bringing up, there's still so much removal in hand. Now you do have a little bit more counterplay. Draven looks like he's coming out, recycling a whole lot of runes for the attachment and the legend ability. You're going to be able to get 2 points here, but how are you going to be able to defend on the clapback because of those removal options available to Viktor? I think looking at the hand RMC, I think we might be going into a game 3.
Yeah, but we know that.
And they know,
Loqui
yeah.
know that? Yeah, Loki's trying his best right now to just hold out whatever he can, right? He's got the Defy, he's got a Not So Fast, he's got enough energy to blow both out, so he's probably thinking like, okay, maybe I can hold. The problem, though, is, of course, the fact that there is a Riptide Rex right there. So that 6 might, combined with, you know, a couple more recruits, is more than enough to take to the side, and it's kind of game over. So plus, this game... Tell you what, it's not the game of tag I thought it'd be, but it is definitely going back and forth really quickly. Like, these games are just blitzing right now.
Yeah, very, very speedy games for sure. And let's take a look. So Draven's currently at 7 might. With the On Guard and a Defiant Dance, you're able to get up to 10 total might, minus the 2. So there goes Defy. So you're still able to play out On Guard, but might be saving it for a Not So Fast. This is not looking good. Has the counters, has the buffs, but doesn't have enough runes to play it all. That's the thing about Riftbound. You can't do everything all at once, so you do have to decide what you want to deploy at certain times. And in this situation, I think it will be favoring Viktor, but pushing forward with units. This is interesting.
Oh no, I think he overcommitted.
Yeah, actually, I'm right there with you. I think, is this the blunder Irelia needed? Because
it's fine.
Let's do the math, right? That's 10, 11, 13. It's still fine. Yeah, you're still fine because you go up to 10.
Yeah, because you've got hidden blades. That's the secret.
True.
It's that you've got 2 hidden blades in hand. So no matter what happens, you'll be able to punch through. The only way it stops is double defy. And if you're double defying, you're out of runes anyways. So ends up being just enough. But that is a aggressive choice to come through from Ghosterdriver. Had me worried for a split second there.
Yeah, and he's showing them, you know, I had the Not So Fast, I had the hard bargain, but as I said, you didn't have the rune. So we find ourselves in quite the speedy game 3. I mean, what's the time? Unless time has been flying like we were talking in the break, because I guess we're about 20 minutes in. No, yeah, 10-minute round 1, 10-minute round 2 is quite speedy for sure.
I think it's a bit of a surprise considering what we expected this to be, and their final battlefields. Okay, so we've got a Valmos, and I can't quite see the one that Loqui has deployed.
Loqui is a new set 2/1 Sunken Temple. Usually we get to see it in the likes of Fiora decks that usually get a lot of value from their mighty units, but it makes sense in Irelia since most of their units, when they get attached with things like Guardian Angel with the Swifty boots, or even the Guardian of the Dark Heart of the Dark Ice, they're able to get over that 5 might threshold. Drawing one card per one energy seems like a nice even trade or value trade. 1 for 1 there, getting more card draw, which we saw how impactful that was in game 1 for Irelia. So more draw does tend to be beneficial for any deck, really. So this is going to be interesting. But as you said, though, Volmon's Lair is a little bit of a counter. The only saving grace would be those boots of swiftness, because you're able to gank out of there, but you're just not able to move back to base from that battlefield.
Yeah, and unfortunately, no boots of swiftness. So we finally get to see the Heart of Dark Ice that we didn't really get to see Loqui find in hand. And just the timing of it's really rough. Double Draven as well. So Loqui feels very, very energy heavy with his particular deck. It's going to be another start where he's not able to do anything for much in the beginning, just using Find Your Center to try and figure out, draw more cards and try and get that boots of Swifties to be able to get not just the Irelia, but even the Dravens bouncing back and forth. For Ghosterdriver, it's worth noting as well, his hand didn't quite break, but it is pretty top heavy as well. He's got double Riptide Rex in hand for now. He's still got the Honest Broker, to keep things going, to generate the recruits as well, with the Viktor ever, the just Viktor passive. He's only done one and ended it, and he's keeping, oh, see, this is what I mean, where Loqui seems like ready things, and I don't know if there's a spec bug, but like it feels like
it has to be, right? I think this is a little bit of a spectator bug. I don't know if it has to do on my end, because I almost feel like we're on a delay as well.
Yeah.
But weird, because I guess he like passed turn, but in the engine of TCGA, it was still not played out to our vision. But everything seems to be caught up all the way up to 4 points. This is what we're used to seeing from a Viktor Irelia matchup. They don't have low to the ground units to try to take the advantage away from the Viktor. Stupefy coming down. It looks like he's just going to be using it strictly to card draw in this position. And it looks like it's a secondary Watcher in hand. Things are looking pretty good for Viktor. Double Riptide Rex. You do have a Zhonya's Blade or Zhonya's Hourglass to save it one time, but a Riptide Rex number 2 perhaps following that. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of Guardian Angels, so I think this Aurelia's chosen this champion should be okay. But the thing is, are you able to slow down Viktor's pressure right now? Because his board development is getting a little bit out of hand. Every time a unit dies, like those Honors Brokers, you're going to get another recruit token. So this is tricky, but first point on the board for Irelia. Let's see if she could try to keep this going and slow this Viktor player down ever so slightly.
And the big trick, I feel like, right now for Loqui is not so much about the Irelia and keeping her alive. It's actually more about the Dravens, because you're so far behind in points that if you're just trading, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, that sort of deal, even if you can keep Irelia alive with GAs, can you keep the battlefields is the bigger problem. Oh my goodness, Ghosterdriver with the Singularity as well. Yeah, that is a very top heavy hand that he has right now. Lots of kill, lots of removal options. And this is kind of the problem, right? Like, he's got all these cards to remove your unit off the battlefield. He'll be scoring with his little guys, with the recruits, with the Honest Brokers. And then he's going to be up to 6 to 7. Chasing up to 8. And for Loqui, he needs to be able to defend. The only way he catches back up is with Draven's ability to score an extra point on the win of combat. So he needs to get the Dravens up there so that they can start moving as well.
Yeah, we'll see if he goes ahead and does that, but you're so right. Viktor has quite the heavy hand, basically only able to play out one card at a time, which Viktor likes to do a little bit more than that. Thankfully, though, thanks to Viktor's legend ability, you can at least guarantee one recruit token on top of that one card you play. You do have the Matron, but currently there's only Stupefy in the discard, so that's not going to be doing very much. You could push a couple units forward and then Matron to bring back one. But in this situation, I'm leaning towards that Riptide Rex. Just guarantee, get the Irelia. She's not going to die, but she will be removed from the Sunken Temple, allowing a little recruit token to push forward and setting up from that 6 to 7 to 8 point going into your next turn with that Watcher most likely allowed to be accelerated onto the board. So it looks like the most ideal play you can make with the current hand. I'll be interested to see if he chooses another line of play, though.
Or heck, you could just drop 1,000 tilt unaccelerated, and that will get Irelia down to about a 2. And then you could send an Honest Broker into trade. because Honest Broker will generate you a gold token on Death Knell, as well as create a recruit for you off of Viktor. The only question just becomes like, well, do you have a combat trick? Do you have a riposte? Or, sorry, not riposte, an on guard to drop through? And you could just send both Honest Brokers up, right? Only one of them is going to die if they don't have a on guard. If they do have on guard, both dies. You generate 2 tokens anyways, as well as 2 recruit tokens and 2 gold tokens. So, and then you've also got Thousand Tailed Unaccelerated who can, move up on the next turn. So it looks like that's going to be the call being made right now. And with the extra leftover energy, you can also create 1 recruit token anyways. We're moving. Okay, Viktor's a bold choice, but I respect it.
Yeah, just using it rather for his might. 4, 6, 7 total might versus the 2, as you mentioned, from the Irelia player. So Irelia will be going down, but thanks to the Zhonya's Hourglass, just so that you don't have to waste an equipment cost, because you are able to decide, since you have 3 lifesavers, if you will, with the Hourglass and the 2 Guardian's Angel, you could choose which one you would like to expend first. And choosing the Hourglass, which is a smart choice, but you do get to that notorious 6 as the Viktor player. You have another Thousand Tail Watcher down the road, and that is a good amount of backline to get the job done. Looking at the Irelia player, you have Rebuke, you have Discipline, you have Hard Bargain. But if you play any unit out, like we're seeing this Draven get played out for 6, you're not going to be able to use all of that on the defense, on the clapback, and you're not going to be able to defend the Irelia on the Valmon's layer. You do ready it, so you most likely could be going up to 4 points. But how are you going to defend the Viktor player from going and closing out the game this very next turn? This is looking good, I want to say, for Viktor.
And I guess it's one of those situations where you just do what you can, how you can, right? Like one step at a time. You just need to clear both sides, get units up there to try and hold the best you can. And that's why I was a little bit surprised when we saw the Viktor moved up, because now Viktor's dead. That's 4 might taken off the table. You don't get the extra recruits. And it is actually a little bit dicey for Ghosterdriver to play on this turn. That you can still do the accelerated Thousand Tails, pardon me, and that you probably have enough with the other Thousand Tail sitting.
It should,
still in your base.
You know, I was just gonna say, I respect Loqui though, because in the instance that there isn't a second Thousand Tail Watcher, this is actually a good defense there.
Yeah.
Two good strong might units on both battlefields. You know, the only strong mighty unit from Viktor is that Thousand Tail Watcher. But we have all info, of course. There is indeed the second Thousand Tails. So I think with that should be that final nail in the coffin. But let's see. Maybe they're thinking of a different line. They do have something like Singularity, Call of the Week. But I don't think you necessarily need to do all that.
Yeah, and if you Singularity, it's still kind of iffy. I think Thousand Tail is probably the safest, just fully accelerated. Because it just drops down everything by 3, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Now your Irelia's 2. Yeah, they've already done the math there. So that's a lot more playable. Oh, he did not accelerate the Thousand Tail. Did he?
No, it looks like he decided just to play it for 7 to leave 2 runes available for the Call of the Week, which I can respect that play, because at this moment, he does decide to accelerate it. So he pays 1 more. He's saying, I don't need it if I'm going to be sending in a 7 might unit.
I think it's the safest play, because the thing is, that green has a lot of combat tricks, but one thing green doesn't have is something that can actually answer Thousand Tailed as a whole. You don't have something that can block the play effect where it just is -3. And then if you're attacking in as well, what are you worried about? Double on guard? Well, even if you double on guard, it gets the Draven up to an 8. You can still overwhelm later on anyways. So I think that this sort of safer play to be able to come through. And now it's on to Loqui. We know that the only option here is pretty much Rebuke, I think. Or actually, because Divine Dance won't be enough.
It won't be enough, because they'll bring it down to a 5. Actually, Irelia gets +1, so you get +3, so you go 2 to 5. It would actually trade evenly with a Defiant Dance. But then I think I like this from Viktor, because he's playing it as cautiously as you can.
Yeah.
You're wasting the runes available for the Irelia player, because all you really need in this position is just to kill the Draven, because once that Draven dies in combat, you get an additional point, so that you get the 1 point for the Conquer and 1 point for the Draven dying in combat. And on defense, you can go up to the 8th point like that. I'm pretty sure, actually,
I think Draven
Maybe
dies
it's
for
the other way
so you
around.
can't,
Maybe
yeah.
you can't actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can. So, yeah, for now though, it looks like they've managed to trade that out, but now there's still the other 1,000 to crash in with one energy up. Like, what do you got? On guard's kind of it, and at 6 might, that's still not enough to overcome the 1,000 tail.
Yeah, I think it's rather straightforward. Send one of the recruits into Valmon's lair, and then every single other unit you have remaining, the Watcher, the Honest Broker, and the final recruit over to the Sunken Temple, and that should be GG. He's trying to see, even with the on guard, is this enough? He's sending in the 3 units, saving the recruit for the Valmon's lair conquer later down the road, but 7 plus 2, 9, 10 total might, trying to get this Draven out of here, and I think he's going to accomplish just that. We just saw the Viktor player going a bit too fast, saying if I could rebuke, I would, but I'm one rune shy of it.
Yeah, I was just thinking if anything, do you just do the Divine Dance on the Draven side of things? But that gets you up to a 6. Yeah, it's still not quite enough. Yeah, it still gets overwhelmed. So well played by Ghosterdriver. You just kind of showed what you had already been telling us, plus that the Viktor side of the matchup is highly favored. Anything, huge props to Loqui for winning out that game 1 as dominant as he did. And even here in game 3, despite being down, what was it, 4-0, I think, before he started scoring, for a second, I actually was wondering if he'd be able to turn things around. And I think if he had been able to survive one more turn, maybe Loqui could have done it.
Indeed, a Darius versus another Irelia. Looks like they're in the smack middle of things. 3 players for the Darius, or 3 points for the Darius, and 1 point for the Irelia. A little bit different, or a little bit similar situation as the game we just saw, but a baited hook. Classic Darius coming through. This should be a good one.
And I love the Rek'Sai sort of being added to this. So it looks like it's still baited hook, but with more additions, refining it a little bit, the accelerate that you're able to get from the Rek'Sai on the baited hook potentially is absolutely massive to me. Then you can kind of just start attacking right from the get-go and get on there. And from the point score already, we're seeing that looks like Brother Callum is the Darius player, and then Pergy is the Irelia player. Callum's already taking great advantage of that. We already know that Irelia takes a while to come online. She often kind of cedes the first 2 turns. So that point advantage is pretty much what you'd expect to see.
Yeah, and I'm just updating the things here. So Irelia down at the bottom. And interesting decision to have that Draven. It looks like a lot of these Irelia players today are electing to bring a Draven that what's his, I think is Audacious. Yeah, Audacious Draven, that champion that gets that extra point when you win a combat, or you give your opponent a point when you lose a combat. So very high risk, high reward type unit. But it looks like with Irelia, you feel decently safe because you have so much combat tricks to kind of defend. In this situation, you don't have very much cards in hand though, so this could be a little bit dangerous for this Draven.
Yeah, and you don't have a lot of mana left, or energy left to play combat tricks either. So a little bit worrying concerning. Zhonya's is available though, and as is GA. So again, Draven has to die in combat for you to lose the point, or for the opponent to score the point. So as long as you can keep him alive, replace him, and if he's at base and dies there, it doesn't matter. So because of that, I do think he's a pretty good fit for Irelia. Now the problem is Draven is probably going to get knocked back, and for the tough part for Callum is actually making sure that when you're conquering, when you're scoring, you are able to stop the Draven from winning said combat, whether it be kill spells like Hidden Blade, or buffs like the Grand Trident we see in hand to try and keep your unit stronger than the Draven. That's the really tough part, and that's the test, I feel like, for this Darius deck.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to overcome that, but pushing forward the Vayne as it comes in ready, since your opponent does control a battlefield, and that big boy Draven from set 1 already up to 10 or up to 8 total might, so it should be sufficient enough to take care of the other Draven, but it has total 8 to 8, so perhaps not. Considering the fact there's also a fighter flight hidden on that battlefield, you might have to send the Rek'Sai in with it. But I wouldn't blame him to play it slow. You already have the point advantage. You're at that nice and even 4 points. So I like this play, playing it very patiently.
Yeah, there is also Blood Rush if you need to buff something up to push in. But I think the more part is, again, making sure that you don't have any units up there to actually give the Draven a chance to win combat, right? If he doesn't win combat, he doesn't get the bonus point either. So I believe it is Pergy's turn. No unit. So if you gank across, you're going to lose the fight or flight because that was hidden.
Yeah, true. Because you don't want to gank, and I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose. You almost have to leave it there because you didn't draw any units. Sometimes you could play a unit on the battlefield and then gank over with the Draven, but in this situation, you're going to be forced to play out a discipline just to kind of search for a unit. It doesn't feel too worth it, especially considering the fact that discipline could come in decently clutch on the defense. But going for 5, it looks like the Irelia champion is going to be played in the back line though. So leaving the Draven doesn't get the 4th point, ganking over to Arena's greatest. And to make matters worse, RMC, you're tapped. You're tapped out. Of course, this isn't the finished final push, but you're most likely going to be losing 2 battlefields, going up to 6. And if you could do it as efficiently as possible, you have a Vi the following turn, and you have a grand stratagem to try to go from 6 up to that final finishing 8th point. I think this Darius is looking really primed to take it away.
Yeah, the problem for Calum right now is he's trying to think like, okay, how safe am I to do this necessarily? Because if that Draven scores a point on the next turn, you know you can't kill the Draven no matter what. Even if you quote unquote kill it this turn, Zhonya's is going to bring it back, and then GA is going to be attached. So you know that it's got 2 more lives effectively. So if you go up to 6 this turn, you know, Pergy could go up to 6 on their turn as well if Draven manages to win combat, and then you're down to the combat tricks as well. You're wondering, does the Irelia have a win wall? Because Irelias don't always necessarily run win wall. Sometimes it's sideboard cards. Sometimes it's not even in their sideboard. If there is a win wall, then the grand strat's going to backfire horrifically, and then you actually lose. So Calum's probably trying to figure out what's the safest way to play this, such that he doesn't, you know, have to run that risk. Does he have enough just raw might to be able to potentially overcome the next turn? And you've got to keep in mind too, 7 runes for Pergy next turn if he doesn't play a unit. There's a lot available for combat tricks.
Yeah, because if he wins a combat, he goes up to 4. He would hold up to 5. Irelia would push up to 6. So no way of winning just yet. But because it reads the first time. Yeah, the first time. So it's not every time like the Draven Legend. You don't get points after points. So just the first time. So if you want to play it as safe as possible, you want to try to bait out this fight or flight. So you could try to send in that Noxus Hopeful, followed up by a repeated Blood Rush, bringing you up to 8 total might. That's going to be trading evenly, but decides to not even... Wait. Shouldn't you have gone to Arena? Or did he already conquer Arenas, RMC?
Yeah, he did, and then he baited hooked it.
That's what it was. So yeah. 5. So doesn't want to go from 6. Oh, that's a risky play. This might be exactly what Irelia needed. You know, and to be fair, we have full information. So sometimes it's like, oh, why didn't he do this? Why didn't they do that? It's because we're a little bit biased, right? We have so much info that we see what is the more optimal play in these situations. But when you don't know, you have to make your best judgments. So just keep that in mind for those at home, because sometimes we're like, oh, you know, they misplayed or they misplayed here or there, but in the reality, they're just trying to weigh out the odds. What's the best play for the knowledge that I currently have, right?
Yeah, and I kind of don't necessarily hate the idea. Perhaps they're holding the grand strat for a defensive play on their turn, because +5, if you've got enough units up there, is absolutely massive. Yeah, so just kind of playing it safe for now. But I do think not going from 5 to 6 is the part that's like kind of scary. If you are Breath of Calm right now, if you're up at 6, like you said, you could look to try and push to end on your incoming turn. Instead, now you're just kind of saying, okay, well, I've got to conquer and hold now. And in the back of your mind, if that Darius somehow wins a fight, wins combat, things get really bad for you as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, Darius had to consider the simple fact that was a rare opportunity that Irelia was completely tapped out. Now in this position, there was 4 runes available. That's a double discipline. That's a defy in the mix. So he had, I think the play was, in hindsight, being 2020 with full information, I feel like the Nox is hopeful with the repeated Blood Rush. You take the trade, right? 8 to 8, and then you push either with Rek'Sai, keep the Draven in the back, or if he somehow gets over the Rek'Sai without any runes, which would be quite the feat, then you push in with Draven, but goes for the grand stratagem on this turn. This is interesting for Darius.
Yeah, this I feel like this is really risky to kind of pull off, because even if you do this, you're at 7 points, so you still got to kind of survive one turn. Like, you're gonna be able to win the combat, but then Draven is gonna get saved potentially by Zhonya's. So yeah, and then Irelia gets saved by GA, and this is without whatever combat tricks you don't know you're walking into. So you kind of have to overkill to be safe on both sides.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they're at 5, right? So if they're able to go, even if both units die here, quote unquote die because of the Zhonyas and the Guardians Angels, they get put back to base.
Yeah.
And then you could swing in with the Draven first, go from 5, 6, 7 if you win the combat, and then the Irelia could still come around and conquer the final battlefield needed to take this game. But let's see how things pan out. It looks like the Rek'Sai and the Hopeful going after the arena's greatest. It should be more than enough. Right now, Irelia is representing 4 plus 2, 6, 7 total might currently versus the plus 5 on each. So that's 8 plus the 9, 17 total might coming out from the Darius. I don't know if it's worth to try to do a double discipline, even if that would be enough. That'll go 10, 13. Yeah, it wouldn't even be enough in this situation.
Well, you don't care about the Irelia. You want to protect the Draven as much as possible. So what you're going to do is fight or flight whatever swings up to the Draven, potentially, and then double discipline.
Yeah, let's see. But keep in mind, even if you don't have to necessarily save them in this moment, because you could fight or flight one of the units. It looks like there's only 2 units. I think Irelia might have this fight or flight 1, and then the Zhonyas, even if you trade with the other one. Okay, so Draven gets pushed up. Draven v Draven action. You do trigger the Conservatory's ability, though. Look at the top card of your hand, top card of your deck, and see if it's going to be a spell. If it's a spell, you pick it up. That's cool. That's pretty important in this situation, because Irelia could pick up another On Guard.
Or heck, just pick up another, fight or flight or something like that.
Anything,
right? Like that can knock them back, And you don't even have to play the fight or flight this turn. You could just use the hidden one to kick back the Darius Draven, to kick back Callum's Draven. And then if Vi swings up there and she's not strong enough, then though I do think that's why they're swinging up with the Draven first, is to just try and see if they can bait out whatever that hidden card is, and then you can pump up the Vi to the point where even with double discipline, it probably wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, let's see. They're thinking a little bit longer. They're trying to say, oh, they're buffing Vi. They're using Vi's ability even more. They completely recycle their discard, bringing the Vi up to 13 total damage or total might. Unless he likes to put... Let me see how he's doing it. No, he's doing the counters as might increases. So Vi swinging in for 13. That seems like a simple fight or flight, but make sure you trigger the Ravenbloom's Conservatory first. You want to make sure you get the full value off those battlefields. I hope Irelia realizes it, but the fight or flight is going to get deployed first. So I think he's forgetting the trigger there, which might come and bite him, but I think he's still looking good nonetheless.
And the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with the errata as well, even if you fight or flight, that counts as a combat win, no? Because combat was initiated. Yeah, so there we go. That's why Pergy just went up to 6. And then, he's going to let the Draven die? He's not double pumping with discipline?
Yeah, because that would take him there, right? Because it would be 6, 3, 9. He had 8. He could have saved that. I mean, either or. Darius is not known for a defensive type legend. With 1 rune available, we see the hand. I think Irelia, she was looking like she had a rough climb to kind of overtake this Darius player in that mid game. But now that we find ourselves in the very last turn of this game, she's looking pretty good. Double discipline, Guardian Angel, and both units have the swiftness attached to them. That should be enough, right? Is there anything we're missing here, RMC?
I mean, 1 energy up for Darius right now. Yes, he can trigger the Darius for an extra energy, but I don't think it... Yeah, we know that he doesn't have enough in hand. Blood Rush is only usable... is Assault. It's not shield, so that's not going to help in this situation as well. And Pergy has to swing right now, so the only way something goes wrong is, I guess, if he attacks incorrectly and doesn't assign the right miscalculates maybe or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Decides to go discipline on the Draven, going 10 total might, or even a little bit more. What was that? 6 2 yeah, 10 total might onto the right hand side. That should be more than enough considering the fact there's only a single rune, and that is GG. Said, you know what, I can already see you won the moment I didn't conquer the 6. He had the win, RMC. I really feel like Darius could have won that if he just risked it for the biscuit a little bit sooner. He had to get that 6 pivotal point, and then we saw he had the grand stratagem in hand. He was able to conquer both battlefields with that grand stratagem. He was just at the wrong number, right?
Yeah, and as you said, the fact that plus we have the information, they don't, and sometimes you got to make the call based on what you saw.